So imagine having two of your passions, one being skydiving and the other being boxing, and then picking one, in Trevor Cedar's case, that was boxing, and creating a full-time career out of that. In this week's episode, we're sitting down with Trevor Cedar and understanding how he opened up not one, but multiple fitness gyms and made that a full-time career, once again turning boxing, something he loves, into a business. My name is Salvador Chang and this is Passion and Profit. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the interview with Trevor Cedar. So today I am sitting here with Trevor Cedar. I truly want to appreciate you. Thank you. We are at DeLand Boxing Gym. This is his gym, owned and operated. And we're just wanting to understand your story, how you basically made this into a reality in your beginning. So the first question is going to be, how did you find your passion? Because I remember when we spoke on the phone and I initially brought this topic up to you, you said your two biggest passions were skydiving and boxing. So how did you turn boxing from a passion to a career?
So I was always a boxing fan. I boxed when I was younger, in my teens, 15, 16, but not professionally. And I enjoyed being around the sport, and you know, like all great businesses, the greatest ones, sometimes they just come to you, you know, something clicks in your head and you have an epiphany. I was training at a boxing gym in Miami Beach, a very famous boxing gym called the Fifth Street Gym. It was where Muhammad Ali trained for his whole career. But when I got to the Fifth Street Gym in 1996 on Miami Beach, it was pretty much run down, dilapidated, and it got torn down, which was a crime. It should have been made into a Hall of Fame, but it got torn down because the real estate was worth more than the property that was there. So I was, at the time, working in the nightclub industry. I'd been working in it for about 10 years, doing the whole, you know, working from 11 at night till 5 in the morning thing. And I was looking for a business, you know, looking for something to do, because I believe that strongly that no one should work for anybody else. Everybody should work for themselves. But you have to find something that's your passion first, and then you have to find a reason or a niche for it, if you want. So my thing with the boxing gyms, boxing gyms by nature, especially back in when I was going to the Fifth Street Gym, are very scary, intimidating places. If you're not a boxer, you're not a fighter, you're not made to feel welcome. And the boxing gyms don't really make money because the famous fighters don't want to pay because they're famous.
Makes sense.
And the young kids coming up don't have any money, so they don't pay. Fighters, most boxers, unfortunately, very few of them have, you know, great manners, you know, so they disrespect, you know, the space and the clients. So a boxing gym can be a scary, intimidating place, but the workout is amazing. In my opinion, it's one of the best workouts you can do. So when the Fifth Street Gym shut down, I was like, and like I said, it was almost like one of those aha moments. I'm like, man, I wonder if I could open a boxing gym for everybody. So that concept came into my head, a boxing gym for everybody.
So that was like more welcoming to the average person.
Right.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah. So I found a space that was 2 blocks from the old Fifth Street Gym. I opened my first gym in 1998, South Florida Boxing. And my gym was about 7,000 square feet, had fitness equipment, boxing ring, heavy bags. But what I did was I hired professional or amateur boxers to teach boxing classes to the average person. You know, boxing's great for weight loss, cardio fitness. It's good for stress relief, and anybody can do it. So I wanted my gyms to look and feel like, you know, like real hardcore boxing gyms. So people felt like, oh yeah, I'm going into a boxing gym somewhere maybe where I shouldn't be. You know, but I wanted to be able to make boxing training available to everybody, but proper boxing training, not like a cardio class where you're punching the air.
Like real boxing.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't mind, I want to go back to the very beginning, because you made a point that you feel like not like everybody should work for themselves. They shouldn't work, I guess, a regular 9-to-5 job. When you were working the nightlife, did you always have that hunger in you, or was it your parents that put that hunger inside of you? Or how did you get that guidance to know, like, hey, I need to start my own business, I need to work for myself?
So I was very lucky because my father, when I was 17, had a factory in the north of England, because I'm from England.
Okay.
And when I was 17, 18, he said to me, he said, look, do you want to go up north and run my factory? And I'll teach you, everything there is to know about running a business. So I went up there and I learned everything of how to run a business. I learned everything in that factory, how to it was a clothing company making clothes. And I learned every single aspect of a clothing company, from making the clothes to the accounting, to the deliveries, to the sales, so there's two ways you can get business savvy, right?
Okay.
You can go to business school,
Okay.
or you can learn how to run a business. And I was very lucky that I, from the age of 18 until 26, ran a business. And so once you've had that training, and I believe the training of running a business is far more superior than going to college and learning getting a business degree.
I agree 110%.
And so when I came out from running that factory, for me to open and run a business now was easy.
Because you already knew how to do it.
I knew how to do it.
Exactly.
And it's once you have that equation of A, B, C, D equals 1, 2, 3, then you can apply it to any business. A business is a business, right? So if you spend a substantial amount of time from the ground up running a business, all you need now is to find that business or that thing that you're passionate about.
Okay.
And then obviously you're going to be successful. I don't think that you're going to be as successful if you don't find something you're passionate about. So you have to wait until you find that passion.
That's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like in order for you to have a successful business for a long term, you have to really love the work that you do, because if not, when times get hard, you're just going to quit.
Correct.
You agree 110%?
Correct. And you have to be able to go into that business and do everything in there. You have to go in there no matter what's going on in your life with a smile on your face, especially if it's a customer service business. And I've been blessed to have two passions in my life, boxing and skydiving, and both of which I've had my own business. When I skydived, I opened a business called the Florida Skydiving School, and I ran it like a business. I trained people in the tunnel at night, I coached people during the day, I did tandems, AFFs, but I had a business, and I made good money, but it was because I was passionate about it. And then with the boxing gym, it's the same thing. I get up in the morning and I go to work doing something that I enjoy, that I love, and that I'm passionate about. So it's a lot easier to do, even in, as you said, in the hard times.
Correct. And I feel like everybody would have that mentality where they woke up every day and they love the work that they do, because they would do great work in that case. Right. I'm going to touch on a point when you said you had the gyms back in Miami, yes? When you were contacting those amateur fighters, how would you get in touch with them? Did you already have that connection? Were you building your network, or how did you get in touch with them? You reached out to them, or they knew you? So the beauty of
finding boxers to work in your gym is that most, if not all, boxers in the beginning don't make any money. Okay. Right? 1 in a million is going to be the next Floyd Mayweather that makes millions and millions and millions. For that one, there's, a million kids behind them that are trying to make it and not making any money. And so, it's one of those things where you've got plenty of people to choose from, but you have to choose that right person. And unfortunately, most fighters are kids from the street that possibly don't have the best manners and the best mannerisms and the best customer service and the best work ethic. So you may go through 50 kids to find that one that's got all those things that you can mold into being a boxing instructor. They already know how to box, yes, but can they motivate? Can they be polite? Can they interact with customers? So you've got a huge pool of people to choose from, which is great, but you have to find that person and then mold them into what you need in your business.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you first started your first gym ever, was it just you coaching people, or did you automatically, right when you opened, start hiring other coaches as well?
So no, there was myself and another coach, and we started off small. We had maybe 15 heavy bags.
Okay.
And we had classes in the mornings and in the evenings. And then as it grew, we added more bags with 20 heavy bags and then 30 heavy bags. And eventually we were the probably the first people to do this whole boxing fitness concept with a room full of heavy bags, well before the gyms that are around now, like Mayweather Boxing Gym and Tidal Boxing Gym. We were the first ones to do it.
Okay.
And so then it grew from there. Now we got 30 bags and more customers, and they want more classes. So now we had classes at 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 12:30 and 5:30 and 6:30. And from there, it grew to opening a second location, and then a third location, and then a fourth location. So I actually ended up with 4 gyms in South Florida under the name South Florida Boxing Gym.
So with that being said, I guess it sounds like a silly question, but the point at which you start hiring new people is the point at which you can no longer take on the work yourself?
Yeah, correct.
And
I mean,
then,
in the beginning, you've got to do a lot of that work yourself to save costs and make sure it's done right. Yeah.
And then in order to find good help, like you were saying, you have to go through a number of people, and then eventually you'll find that diamond in the rough where you can kind of mentor them and mold them into the instructor that you want to be, or whatever position they may fill.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the issue nowadays, not nowadays, always, is finding good employees.
I think that's the hardest part in any business.
Yeah. And the one thing that you have to do, and you have to do this, and I've seen so many people fail at this, is when you find that person, that right person, you have to look after them. You better look after them.
Okay.
Because they're hard to find, and I see so many great employees working so hard for businesses and just not being looked after, and eventually they get burnt out and they leave, and now you're back to square one trying to find that great person again. So when you find that right person, you look after them.
I think that's a great point that a lot of businesses miss, because when I used to work my 9-to-5 job, you don't know this, but I used to work like a law firm or a hospital. I used to work all these regular jobs. And not necessarily at every single job, but some of the jobs I felt like I could be replaced at the drop of a hat. Like they really didn't care that I was there and that I was just filling a seat. And then if I was to leave, I really wouldn't be taken care of or whatnot. But from what you're saying, if you take care of your people, they will stay and they will treat you right.
Correct.
Okay.
And when I say take care of them, not just financially, but just you'll be surprised what just a little, hey man, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad I found you. You're really awesome, and I don't tell you enough, and I really appreciate you. Not just financial gain, but telling people what you think. It's amazing how many people just don't get told that. Like, man, you're awesome. I appreciate you.
Just the little things.
And the thing with growing a business is you're only as good as your employees at the end of the day.
That was a key, yeah.
I tell all my employees, I tell everybody that I'm in business with, I'm not a genius. I've just made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned by them. And as long as you learn by your mistakes and correct them, then eventually you're going to have it down. So for example, now I had 4 gyms in South Florida. I was destroyed by the 2007-2008 housing market crash.
Okay.
I took 10 years off to be a skydiving instructor, and then when I started opening gyms again, I just opened a second location.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was so much easier for me because I've made all the mistakes.
Yes.
I've made all the mistakes there were to make when I opened 4 locations. And those are mistakes that I've learned from, and they were mistakes. Like, for example, my philosophy now is that if I don't have the money to do something, I'm not going to get really badly in debt to do it. Okay. Debt in America is such a thing that's pushed on you. Not being from America, that whole credit thing. Oh, you may as, if you don't have credit, it's worse than having bad credit. You've got to borrow. You got to get your credit up.
Yes.
And before you know it, you've got a car loan and a mortgage and a line of credit on your business, and you know, I've realized that before it was so easy just to borrow money and which is great in the good times.
Yeah.
But guess what? When the bad times come, like the 2007, 2008 housing crash, like COVID, like a hurricane coming through.
Everything can be kind of taken away from you in the drop.
Correct, yeah. So, you know, that's one of the biggest things I learned from running my business before, that it was so easy just to borrow money and get in debt.
So do you think, let's say there was an inspiring entrepreneur right now watching this and they wanted to start their own business, not necessarily a gym, but anything else. Would you say that they should take out loans, or you should say that they should save up their money and then start with what they got? Or how, like, let's say if you had zero right now and you had to start a brand new gym, how would you go about that? Would you save the money, get a loan? How would you go about starting a gym?
Nowadays, I'm more inclined to go with private investors.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people out there, wealthy people out there, that say are boxing fans, right? That would love to say, yeah, I own 10% of that gym.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yes.
So nowadays I'm more inclined to borrow money from private investors and give them a small percentage of the business, say 10 or no more than 20%.
Understand.
So if you can find something you're passionate about, maybe there's other people out there that are also passionate about it. I'm not saying don't borrow money to open a business, but don't go crazy, don't overdo it. You know, back in the 90s, it was so easy to borrow money. It was ridiculous, and that's why there was the housing market crash, because everybody could go borrow money with a you know, an application and some bullshit tax returns, you know. So
honestly, yep.
You know, I'm not saying if you're an entrepreneur and you need the money, yes, you can go borrow money, but don't overdo it.
Okay, understood. And then kind of taking a shift in a different direction, what would you say is the best part about owning your own business? Or I guess being your own boss?
The obvious one is going to work and doing something that you love, that you created. And that's why I think, you know, if you want to open your own business, wait till you find your passion, you know. And then the other thing is seeing your business grow, and like, you know, one day you just walk in and say, wow, you know, I built this. You know, I still, this DeLand gym, I love it. Even though I just opened a second gym in Port Orange, I walk in here, this is one of my favorite gyms, and I've had 5 of them, 6 of them now.
Yes.
And sometimes I just walk in there and the doors are closed and walk around like, man, I love this gym. Wow, I built this.
You think there's a sense of accomplishment to that?
Definitely, definitely. You know, especially if you've grown it. I mean, you know, when I built this gym, I was the one on my hands and knees with the carpet knife cutting the rubber mats and painting the walls, and you know, it's now grown to a very successful business with substantial revenue and members.
Yep.
To the extent that now I can open a second one. So, you know, it's the accomplishment, and it's also, like I said, going to do something that you enjoy. It's also, you know, when I opened my first gyms, I was very much financially driven. Okay. And a lot of it is, I call it the American way, you know, coming from England. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the American way is everything's bigger and better in America. And we truly get taught that growing up in England. Everything's bigger and better in America. If you want to do well, go to America. It's a land of opportunity, and it really is. If you have a good idea and you're willing to work hard, it still is the land of opportunity. However, you get drawn into what I call the American way, which is more.
Okay.
Right? So one of the mistakes I made when I opened my business before was I opened too many gyms too quick.
Okay.
When I had 2 gyms, I was very well off. I had a great balance of life. When I opened 3 and then 4, my balance went out the window. I had no balance. It was all work. And I was never as wealthy as when I had 2. So I was very much financially driven, more. And getting older and, like I said before, learning by my mistakes.
Of course.
What I've realized is that more money isn't necessarily a better thing. Quality of life is a better thing. Less stress is a better thing. Spending time with your family is a better thing. And so that was one of the things that I learned, you know, even though I've opened a second gym now, and people are saying to me, well, why don't you open in Orlando? And why don't you open in Jacksonville? And why don't you open? And sometimes I feel myself saying, oh, yeah. And then I have to be like, whoa, put the brakes on, Remember last time you
Yep.
opened 4 gyms in 12 years.
Uh-huh.
You got too big, too quick. You had no quality of life. You were stressed out all the time. You know, so that's the other thing as well. Is like, if you find something you're passionate about, then the money will come. Is I
Okay.
think what I'm trying to say. And I love what I do, because not just because I enjoy boxing, but I know I'm helping people.
That was
I'm
another-
helping
I'm cool.
people get in shape.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because
You
I
know?
feel like you're making an impact in the community.
Yeah, I mean, if someone walks in here and they're 70 pounds overweight and they're looking at diabetes and heart trouble and high blood pressure, and they're my age,
Yes.
you know, I can quite easily say to them, look, I can change your life.
100%.
You know, if you commit to me 3 days a week working out, and we change your lifestyle a little bit with your eating habits, I can change your life. I can make you healthier. And so that's the other thing as well. It's not going back to being financially driven. I'm not driven so much by finances as the passion for the gym, for boxing, and knowing that it works, knowing that I'm impacting people's lives, knowing that I'm helping people get in shape. And guess what? When you do it for those reasons, the money comes.
I could believe it.
And it's just a universal. It's called a universal synchronicity. You know, you're being a good human. You're doing the right thing.
Yes.
The money comes.
I believe it's a win-win for everybody in that case.
Yeah.
Because they're improving your life, you're improving your life. It's a win-win.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You know, going off the subject of the boxing gym, you know, my wife, for a long time now, has always worked for other people.
Okay.
And she's worked hard for other people. And I've always said to her, I'm like, you know what, you should open a business. You should open a business. But I have to stick to my true beliefs, which is there's no point opening a business until you find something you're passionate about.
Agreed.
Right?
I'm really glad you brought that up. What would you say would you have any advice or a guide, or how does somebody find their passion? I feel like it's so hard because people just go through life trying all these different things, but they never really settle down with one thing. How does somebody find their passion? Or what advice would you give to maybe somebody out there who's looking to find their passion?
I think the thing is like, you'll know when you find your passion. You'll know what it is when you find it.
Okay.
The problem is people settle for something that perhaps isn't their passion because they're maybe too eager to open a business.
Okay.
And I'm not saying, you know, don't do that, but I'm saying if you really want to be successful, wait until you find your passion. And then, of course, when people find their passion, then they come up, you know, I read a book many years ago, and I've been reading it again, called Excuses Be Gone by Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's now passed away. But it's a book that tells you about why we make all these excuses in our life not to do what we want to do.
Okay.
And so it is what it is. Excuses be gone. You know, when you find that passion, try to get away from those excuses, right? Try not to make those excuses. Oh, it's going to be too hard. Oh, I'm not going to have the money. Oh, I won't have enough time. Those are all excuses, right? If you find your passion, make it happen, make it work. There shouldn't be any excuses once you find your passion.
That's really powerful stuff. 110%. I agree. I agree with everything you're saying right there. To kind of take a turn in a different direction, obviously opening a business is difficult. It's not the easiest thing out there. There's a lot of nights where you're working way past like normal people, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. You're putting in the hustle, the grind to make your dreams a reality. What would you say one of the hardest things is, or what's a hard thing about opening your own business? Or the hardest thing?
So the one thing that you cannot teach somebody and that you have to have is you have to have hard work. I call it the hard work gene, the hard work ethic. Some people they just have it. But do not go and open your own business if you're not willing to work your ass off. And you know, when I say work your ass off, I mean like in the beginning,
Yes.
you better be ready to work and work and work. And that's the thing is like, you know, when I started thinking about opening a second gym, I had to truly sit down with myself and say, am I willing to do that work, to put in that hard work that I know that it needs?
Yeah.
Because I've been there before. And if I'm not willing to do that work, and that's cool. If I'm not willing to put in that hard work, then don't even think about it, because there's no replacement especially when you first start the business, that it's hard work. And you have to have that hard work ethic, that hard work gene, whatever it is, no matter what it takes. If you have to be there till 2 a.m. and then go home and then get back up and open up again at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you have to, there's no substitute for hard work, none whatsoever. And so if you think it's just going to be easy, then don't open
It's
your
not
own
for you.
business. Yeah. now the hard work pays off, obviously, you know.
My next question was going to be, do you think it's worth it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a silly question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have to realize, like, when I open a business, I know for the first 3 months, the build out and getting the business ready, that it's going to be absolute hell. That it's going to, like, it's like I'm like, okay, I take a breath and like, okay, here I go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I know after 3 months, and you know, I open, and then the business starts working, and the money starts coming in. Then it's going to be extremely hard for another 3 months. And then I know after 6 months, saying that there's no disasters like a hurricane or a COVID or a,
Yes.
then I know that, hey, okay, now it's going to start rolling, but I still got to keep my eye on the prize, still got to work hard. And then after a year, then you can start to sit back a little bit, right? And you can be like, okay, here it is, it's set up, it's working, it's going well, you know, and then you can start to sit back. But you better believe, for the first 3 months is hell, 6 months really hard, and then for the rest of the year it's still hard work. And
Okay.
so, like I said, I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize
I think so too.
about opening a business.
I think they're just they think it's gonna be simple, easy. People are gonna come to them, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make this happen every day.
Right.
100.
And it's not just physical work, it's mental work, it's stress. It's like,
yeah.
you know, you're constantly thinking about what you have to do today to make this business successful, and tomorrow and the next day, and it's 7 days a week. It's not it's not 5 days a week. It's not a 9 to 5.
I was about to say, because like at a 9 to 5, you go home, you clock out at 5, and the work is done. You don't have to think about it anymore until the next day when you're at work.
Right.
But when you own your own business, you're thinking about your business 24/7, 7 days a week. Like, it's just always, and how can I improve? What can I fix? What can I work on? Things like this, yes?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even once the business is up and running well, and you have those good employees, you just said it. Now you've got to, like, how can I improve it? How can I make it better? How can I keep it exciting for everybody? So, you know, it's one of those things that you never sit back with your business and say, oh, good, it's done. You know,
It's never going to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Trevor, I truly appreciate you taking out your time out of your day. I feel like we've got a lot of great information here. I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. If there was any advice or any tips or like a blueprint quickly that you could give to an aspiring entrepreneur to leave their 9 to 5, to make it happen, to start their own business, what advice would you give them, or what encouragement would you say to them?
The biggest advice I would give people is go speak to people that have done it.
Got it.
And, you know, like, as long as you don't come to me and say, hey, I want to open a boxing gym down on Garfield down the street, you know, I'm always willing to give advice to people on how to do this, because I truly believe, like I said, that nobody should work for themselves, that everybody should own their own business. And by me giving advice to other people, you know, I feel like I'm giving back. And like I said, as long as you're not trying to copy my boxing gym, you know, business advice is business advice. So my best advice is go talk to people that have done it.
Okay.
You know, ask them, hey, listen, you know, how did you start? How did you do this? Once you've done it, like I said, my father putting me through the business,
Yes.
I know how to do it. It's very simple for me in my head, but I don't realize how difficult it is now because I've done it so many times.
Correct.
So go talk to somebody, you know? I mean, hey, listen, if you see me, come talk to me. Hey, listen, I got this great idea for a business. What do you think? What do I have to do? How do I start? I'm always open to give people help and advice, always.
Gotcha. Trevor, truly appreciate it. Last but not least, where can the people find you? How can they get in touch with the gym if they want to work out? How can they sign up?
So we have 2 locations. We have one here in DeLand at 589 East International Speedway Boulevard, and then we have a second location in Port Orange, 3780 South Nova Road. The number is really easy to remember, the phone number. It's 386-675 2 box. So 386-675-2box, which is 386-675-2269. If you're thinking about doing this, give me a call. You're going to come in, I'm going to give you a free boxing workout. I'm going to teach you how to box, and it will change your life. You'll get in shape, you'll lose weight, and you'll have fun. So definitely give me a call if you're interested in doing this. And also give me a call if you need some advice. I'm always open to help people.
There you go. You heard it here from Trevor himself. Once again, thank you for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.